Okay, this video is the first of a two-part series of videos dealing with the scandals that arose out of the United Conservative Party 2017 leadership race. This particular video will deal with the Jeff Callaway Kamikaze, or better put, stalking horse scandal. The next video will deal primarily with the identity theft and vote rigging scandal, both arising from the same leadership race. The context of these scandals is a 10-year rivalry between two entangled yet quite distinct political tendencies in Alberta, one represented by the Wild Rose Party and one represented by the Progressive Conservative Party, which ruled Alberta for 44 years in an almost uncontested fashion from 1971 to 2015. The Wild Rose Party first met in May of 2007. 50 people attended. They met again the next month and they got 76 people. That formation of people never did register as a political party. Rather, in January of 2008, they merged with a pre-existing party called Alberta Alliance, which at that time was 5 years old. In the 2008 provincial election, the newly formed Wild Rose Alliance fared worse than the Alberta Alliance had in the 2004 election. They lost their only seat. Their popular vote fell from 9 to 7%. Their leader, Paul Hinman, resigned after that election, or announced his resignation after that election. In that election, the PCs under Ed Stelmach again won another landslide. Wild Rose departed from the PCs on several major points. The Wild Rose opposed the growth of big government. Wild Rose opposed both abortion and the gay agenda. Wild Rose were far more democratic. They advocated referenda and recall. Their denunciations of Ottawa bordered on separatism, and they tended to openly doubt global warming. Wild Rose's groundswell of popularity dates to Premier Stelmach's April 2009 budget. That forecast around a $5 billion deficit and further funding increases. In September of 2009, outgoing leader Paul Hinman won a surprise victory in a Calgary by-election where the PCs finished third. In the next month, October 2009, Danielle Smith became the new leader of the Wild Rose Party. She had been a media pundit and a lobbyist. She was also a very long-time prominent PCer. Her primary focus was on fiscal restraint. In 2010, two PCers crossed the floor to join Wild Rose. After they were joined by an independent MLA, Wild Rose had official party status. Many people thought that Wild Rose was poised to win the 2012 provincial election. However, the PCs won yet another comfortable majority. Wild Rose did increase their seats from 4 to 17 and their popular vote from 7% to 34%. The PCs then switched leaders again, welcoming in Jim Prentice. During 2014, the leader of the Wild Rose, Danielle Smith, and 10 Wild Rose MLAs crossed back across the floor and joined Prentice's government. Many people thought that Wild Rose would wilt and blow away, but they did not, and they chose a new leader, Brian John. In the 2015 elections, it was the PCs who collapsed, all the way down to 9 seats. Wild Rose increased to 21 seats, whereas the NDP under Rachel Notley grabbed 41% of the popular vote and 54 seats, a comfortable majority, in the legislature. Throughout the next year, 2016, both Wild Rose and PC talked about unification of the two parties. Jason Kenney, who was a prominent federal minister, becomes the leader of the PCs in a leadership race where he outspent all of the other candidates by a factor of 7. Other candidates combined by a factor of 7. He also had endorsements from all the leading federal politicians, or almost all of them, most importantly from former Prime Minister Stephen Harper. On July 22nd, 2017, both parties, Wild Rose and the PCs, hold referenda on unification. Of 42,000 Wild Rose members, 57% voted. They voted 23,000 yes for unification, 1,100 no. The PC's turnout was 55%. 25,000 of them voted for unification, 1,300 voted no. So that sets the stage for the scandal-racked 2017 United Conservative Party Leadership Convention. The actual vote was held between October 26th and October 28th. It was held online, and Jason Kenney won by a landslide, 61% of the vote, so we're told. A stalking horse candidate is a hunting analogy. Many game animals, especially waterfowl, will flee the sight of a human, but not the sight of the horse. Back in the day, hunters used to train stalking horses that they would hide behind as they approached their prey. In politics, senior politicians sometimes hide behind junior politicians who introduce controversial ideas or launch attacks on party leaders. The senior politician avoids the reputational risk of the activity that the junior politician has been dispatched to undertake. Jason Kenney used Jeff Callaway as a stalking horse against Brian Jean in the 2017 UCP Leadership Convention. Callaway was not Jason Kenney's first choice for a stalking horse. In early July 2017, Derek Fildebrandt enjoyed a ribeye steak in a downtown keg restaurant in Cowtown, while Jason Kenney solicited him to be his stalking horse for the leadership race. Jason Kenney wanted Fildebrandt to scrape up Brian Jean. Fildebrandt declined. A week or so later, July 19th, at Jeff Callaway's house just outside of Calgary, a meeting is held. In attendance were Jeff Callaway, Jason Kenney, John Weisenberger, Cameron Davies, Hardial Man, also known as Happy Man, and Shuvaloy Majumdar, and a few other Team Kenney players. John Weisenberger was Kenney's campaign manager, and that is a role that he also performed for Kenney during Kenney's PC leadership bid. Weisenberger is a close Stephen Harper crony. Weisenberger also ran a pro-Kenney political action fund. Shuvaloy Majumdar, or Majumdar, I know I'm mispronouncing that, is a Harper and Associates executive. During the leadership contest, Team Kenney CC'd to Majumdar all emails relating to the Callaway campaign. Team Callaway also kept Majumdar in the loop. Majumdar vetted Callaway's media strategy. Majumdar also had a veto over the date of Callaway's ultimate withdrawal. Emails also reveal Majumdar was ordering Team Kenney on how to prep up Happy Man for a speech to the Punjabi community, wherein Happy Man would explain why he, as a former Wild Roser, no longer supported Brian Jean. Happy Man was Team Kenney's point man to Alberta's 60,000 strong Punjabi community. Happy Man had been promised a Calgary seat. On July 20th, Weisenberger sent Mann a note thanking him for catering the meeting at Callaway's house on the previous evening. Weisenberger declared Mann to be absolutely critical to our effort. He invited Mann to all future planning meetings. Weisenberger told Team Kenney's scheduling manager to make sure that Mann was given the weekly schedule updates. Mann also had access to Kenney's conference call code words. In short, Happy Man was a trusted, integral component of Team Kenney. Despite this, on September the 1st, now we are in the middle of the leadership race, Mann told two family members contributed $9,000 to Callaway's campaign. Mann contends that he gave this money in order to help Kenney. After the leadership race, Kenney disqualified Mann as a possible UCP candidate allegedly for failing to disclose that he was the defendant in a lawsuit. Thereafter, Mann began cooperating with the authorities. Circa July 19th, Cameron Davies was a veteran campaign manager. At that time, he was a staffer for the Federal Riding Association of Calgary-Midnapore. The Member of Parliament for that riding, Stephanie Kuzy, had been a Kenney protege. Calgary-Midnapore was Kenney's old riding. In August 17th, in a social media post, Cameron Davies declares himself to be 100% behind Jason Kenney. A few days later, Cameron Davies is communications manager for Team Callaway. After the leadership race, late February 2019, the Alberta Election Commissioner fined Davies $15,000 for obstructing the investigation into Callaway's finances. The law firm Guardian Law, Kenney supporters, leaped to Davies' defense. At that time, Davies was a UCP caucus employee. When word got out, it was posted online that Davies had been fined by the commissioner. The UCP immediately fired Davies. Then he joins Mann as someone who's cooperating with the authorities, the commissioner, and the RCMP. Guardian Law immediately dropped him as a client. Let us return to the July 19th meeting, the soiree at Callaway's crib where this stalking horse was foaled. Both Happy Mann and Cameron Davies vividly not only recall Kenney being in the room, but that Kenney was a vigorous participant in the planning of Callaway's campaign. Weeks later, and this is after Callaway has announced his campaign, veteran Conservative Party gadfly Wendy Adams is holding forth on the Callaway campaign in a basement in Okotoks. She does not know that she is being secretly recorded. She knows exactly what Callaway is going to do during his campaign, and she even knows the approximate date at which Callaway is going to drop out of the campaign and endorse Kenney. According to Adams, Jeff will be able to say things about Brian John that Jason Kenney cannot. Callaway allegedly had dirt on John because Callaway had been a top official in the Wild Rose Party during Jason's tenure. Callaway announces his candidacy on August the 10th, and he withdraws on October the 4th. 3 legal points have to be made before we can follow the dollars. Albertans are not allowed to make campaign contributions with funds supplied by another person. The maximum contribution is $4,000. Donations exceeding $250 must be listed in the candidate's financial statements alongside the donor's name. Jeff Callaway's campaign raised $94,000, including $86,000 in over $250 donations. 2/3 of Callaway's over $250 donations come in almost simultaneous dollops of money from 9 families. These clustered donations were made by people clearly aware of the $4,000 limit. 3 federal Conservative constituency staffers and/or family members donated collectively $21,000. David Ruiz, a former colleague of Cam Davies at Stephanie Kuzy's office, donated exactly $4,000. Ruiz has since been reprimanded by the commissioner for contributing funds furnished by another person. Jeffrey Park and wife each donated $3,500. Park is an employee of Conservative MP Tom Kemiak, who, like Kuzy, had been helped out early in his career by Jason Kenney. Jeffrey Park's social media archive clearly betray him as a staunch Jason Kenney supporter. Nevertheless, Park becomes Team Callaway's co-campaign manager. Park is currently under investigation. Darcy McAllister and wife both donated $4,000 to Callaway, despite McAllister claiming to have been with Jason Kenney from the beginning. McAllister has received two $4,000 fines, one for contributing funds furnished by another, and the other for furnishing funds to be contributed by another. UCP constituency staffer Karen Brown, a well-known Happy Man ally, contributed $3,500 to Callaway and was fined $3,500 for contributing funds furnished by another. So you get the picture there. These are all people who are clearly in Kenney's camp, yet they are now taking managerial roles and donating the maximum amounts of money to Callaway's camp. All leadership candidates had to provide a $75,000 entrance fee and a $20,000 compliance bond. The entrance fees were to be paid in two installments of $37,500 each. The first installment was due on September 12th, and it had to accompany the $20,000 bond. Team Callaway, having left things to the last minute, was scrambling on September the 11th to pony up their $57,500 to the United Conservative Association. On September the 11th, Cameron Davies meets with Jeff Callaway and investor Robin Lohr at a Calgary bank. The bank records show that Davies received $60,000 from AgroPyron Limited, a company owned by Lohr. Davies then gives $33,515 in cash to Callaway. Davies then reassigns the rest of the money, on paper at least, to various donors to Callaway. This explains several of the $4,000-ish donations, including one in Cameron Davies' own name and two in the names of his siblings. Jeff Callaway made similar allotments and then buys his $20,000 bond. Investor Robin Lohr claims the $60,000 was a personal loan to Cameron Davies. This does not pass the laugh test. They were strangers. Cameron Davies never thought of it as a loan. There was no paperwork or discussions of collateral or repayment plans or interest rates, etc. Team Callaway's chief financial officer is completely incommunicado. Callaway denies everything, often from Facebook posts from Mexico. A trove of documents show Team Kenney providing Team Callaway with strategic direction, media talking points, debate cues, calendars and speeches, videos and attack ads that were produced in-house in Team Kenney's offices were given to Team Callaway and they used them. Team Callaway honcho Matt Wolf met routinely, systematically with the top three players of Team Callaway. Callaway smeared John at every possible opportunity, especially during the three leadership debates. Callaway assailed John for allegedly mismanaging Wild Rose funds or for flip-flopping on important issues. Callaway even gave his seating ticket allotments to Team Kenney so that Team Kenney could pack the auditorium, the debate auditoriums, with noisy supporters for Kenney. On October the 4th, according to the plan, Callaway withdraws from the race, throws his full support behind Jason Kenney. On the evening of October the 5th, the next night, they all reassemble at Jeff Callaway's house outside of Calgary. The gang's all there: Jeff Callaway, Jason Kenney, Cam Davies, John Weinberger, Happy Man, Majumdar. They're celebrating a stalking horse well run. As a token of his appreciation, Jason Kenney gives Callaway a bottle of Dark Horse whiskey. That was photographed. Kenney doesn't deny it. So, in a nutshell, Team Callaway was a wholly owned subsidiary of Team Kenney. It was managed by them. It was financed by them. It was directed by them. Through that process, Team Kenney, including Kenney himself, have violated a bevy of laws, including some serious offenses regarding corruption and conspiracy. This is being intensely investigated by both the RCMP and the Elections Commissioner right now. This is going to survive this provincial election. More about the sort of investigations and the penalties in the next video, which will primarily focus on the more severe allegations of vote rigging and identity theft.